Now, we have just gone through crushing baby Godzillas, and yes, it's fun, and yes, you understand that we really need to catch behaviors as early as we possibly can. So, as early as we possibly can is what? Verbal warning? Well, I have good news for you. We have a way to even catch behaviors earlier than the verbal warning, so you never even have to get to the verbal warning. So we're going to call this before the verbal warning. You're going to prevent these behaviors from going, and you're going to use another acronym because we like acronyms. They help us remember, and this acronym is PRAISES. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate the behavior that we want to adjust, set up the story, and then we'll go through the acronym of PRAISES, okay? So here's the setup. Joe is a longtime employee in the company. He's a very valuable employee. He's a very high producer. Everybody in the organization is under a lot of stress and strain because we have smaller staff, lower budget, we don't get the raises we used to get, our bonuses are smaller, and things are a little scary, as they are in much of business world and much of government and much of nonprofit world for everybody now. Very few places do they actually walk up to you and say, I'd like you to do less with more. This is a more with less environment. So what Joe has done, you were walking by the break room and you heard Joe slamming the compensation plan to some of the newer employees, and Joe's a senior employee, was Employee of the Year. Everybody looks up to him, they listen to him, and he's also part of the compensation committee. So we can't have this behavior. We can't let this kind of negativity grow in our organization. So this is how we correct it. Hey Joe, great job on the Jones account. That was a wonderful job. We were very near to losing them to the competition. And somehow you managed to not only save it, but we have even more business from them than we did in the past. And that's a great thing. Now, there is an issue I need to raise, a behavior that I'm just become aware of that I want to talk to you about. I was walking by the break room and I heard you chatting with a couple of the new employees just out of the corner of my ear as I walked by, and you were slamming our compensation plan. What? You don't think you were? You don't remember doing that? Well, Joe, let me tell you what I think is going on. First of all, we can't have that. And let me tell you the impact in the organization and on you. You can't be supportive of the compensation plan in private and then, or in public, in meetings with me, and then slamming it in private. There's impacts in two ways. First of all, it's not supportive of me, the organization. It's kind of two-faced. And secondly, it's going to damage your credibility, because if those people see you saying one thing in public and another thing in private, it's going to remove your reputation as being a trustworthy person, somebody they can depend on. So there's two pieces of impact. And let me tell you what I think has happened. What I think has happened is because of all the pressure we're all under with lower budgets and less resources and smaller staff, I think you've subconsciously or unconsciously fallen into this behavior of negative talk. And it's very easy to do. So here's what I'd like you to do. I want you to self-monitor. Simply listen to what you're saying. Be aware of what you're saying. Think about what you're saying, especially to the younger staff, for the next week or so. And maybe take some notes. See if you haven't fallen into this pattern of behavior. And then I want you to sit down with me. Oh, it's about 9:30 Friday morning now. Sit down with me next Friday morning at 9:30 again, and we'll talk about it. You know, because you're a great employee. You do so many wonderful things. You do so many things well. I'm certain you can modify this behavior since we've caught it so early. Thanks for coming in. Praises. Let's explain praises. First of all, we praise another behavior. That's the P, right? We praise the other behavior, getting the account that we were losing and actually growing the account. The R was raise the issue. A is ask for input. Joe, are you aware? Do you remember all the rest of that? And Joe, of course, is going to deny it, right? Oh, you must have misheard, John. You must have misremembered. I wouldn't do that. I'm a valuable employee. I've been here a long time. Of course, I support you. And you're going to nod your head and be supportive of Joe. Everybody gets a chance. And then the I was, we talked about impact. The impact on the organization, which is we're all working really hard, and we can't have this kind of negative vibration going out into the universe. We can't have somebody saying one thing in public and another in private. That's the impact on the organization. The new people in the organization listen, and they might fall into this negative pattern of speaking or thinking as well. Now, there's another impact on Joe. And that impact is that Joe, by doing one thing in public and another in private, will develop a reputation for being two-faced. He's going to lose his ability to be trusted by anybody. So it's going to have an impact on the organization and an impact on Joe. So that's the I. S. We ask Joe, and here's the beauty of praises, to self-monitor. We're not going to write them up. We're not going to pen to paper. It's not a verbal warning. We simply want Joe to monitor himself because we think he's subconsciously or unconsciously fallen into this behavior. Why do we do that? We do it because we know that any behavior that we monitor improves by 10%, whether we want it to or not. Just by asking Joe to be aware of it, we know it's going to impact his negative self-talk and his negative talk that he has with fellow employees. Even if he's not trying to improve the behavior, simply asking him to monitor it is going to have that effect on his behavior. So that is self-monitor. And then we set the expectation. And the expectation is, Joe, we need this behavior to stop. You can't be positive in public and negative in private because you're too valuable an employee. You have to stop it. We're very clear about what we want Joe to do, and that's the E. The last S is we set a follow-up meeting. So praises. It's an acronym that once you use it 2 or 3 times, you're going to be very effective. Now, wouldn't it be great if instead of waiting until somebody does something where you actually have to write them up or even not write them up, deliver a verbal warning, and they know what the next step is, a written warning, and the next step's another written warning, and we know where that leads. If you can even stop that behavior even before the verbal warning, and you can do it with praises. Thank you.